Okay, I'm going to do this again in voiceover format, and I'm going to hope it doesn't suck. And I'm sorry for not syncing. I tried it in the video, but I had all sorts of echo because I didn't do it correctly. And of course, because it no longer syncs up with the video, I'm going to speed up the video since it was 18 minutes. Anyway, I'm going to show you generally what I do for my animatic thing or whatever I'm calling it, and just how I go about doing it. And this, like, the scene, the late bedroom scene, I have about like 35 frames or so. I probably increased it by then because I have a habit of like changing around frames and adding stuff or changing stuff. So I should have more, and you can probably see it from all of these like pulley downy things. What I'm using opentoonz. It's a good software. And I'm using my drawing tablet to do this. Of course, none of these are really a requirement, but it's just what I use to make it easier. And like speaking of easier in general, my strategy is to use as many loopholes as possible. We can pretty much be copy paste goblins here. If you have like a head shape, an eye shape, whatever, any sort of lens, if anything seems like it can be reused or recycled in some sort of way, that's what I do because we don't necessarily need to strive for perfection in this section yet, and that's why I have sort of like backgrounds with some warped perspectives and like all sorts of things. But anyway, that's why I have sort of like things with like sort of warped perspectives and stuff. And I don't clean up all my lines or so because we're looking for just like the idea of what it's supposed to be. What I do for my backgrounds is I have like this. Typically, you're going to be using this one type of gray, but you can be using it in like all sorts of tones depending on if it's in the foreground, if it's closer, or if it's farther away, if it's supposed to be a darker object or a lighter object, which is probably more like towards or far away. You use different tones of gray. But we have one that's like your main like gray wash or so. And I have like a red outline. Yeah. Of the gray wash, red outline characters are denoted in white. Sometimes they're also shaded in white. Things that are a bit more like important, like very close in the foreground, if it's something that characters that's interacting with that is also an object, it is a gray, but it's a lighter gray that's closer to that white. And yeah, these are the colors you're going to typically be using. And you're not using the blue all the time because the blue is what I know for shading and stuff. You're not using that all the time. I don't use it all the time. There's many frames that I just decide that I'm not putting it on. But you can if you want like a fun thing, and I probably will incorporate it later. Hmm. And by standard, I am, although these are like smaller drawings or so, which was my mistake for not rescaling them. I am working in 1920 by 1080, so I will resize scale. So, like in the white light objects you see, you are just going to resize that frame. And don't know if it's there right now, but like when I'm doing the backgrounds on like this one or so, typically sometimes you come across like a vague background or so, like a vague frame, don't know what's going on here. That's something for me to report on and like fix or so I can remember what's going on there. And for like just like backgrounds, everything, just try to go about it in the best, simplest way as you can. what I have been like doing, my recent strategy of like working all out for myself is um what I do again? What I do is I've started to denote like if I have to resize or reportion it because like in the beginning my sister had done the frames, so and at that point we had pretty different proportioning styles, so I had to reproportion it in like the violet, that's not violet, that purple color. But yeah, I had to reproportion that. So I gave myself like, I don't know, I gave myself like, I think 5 minutes to do that. I like 5 minutes to proportion it. Did it in like sub 4. And then I just give myself like about 15 minutes to work out like each frame for like the background and just the general character. Sometimes I make it, sometimes I don't. But like the general atmosphere is like I try to get quick as much as possible, then just like move on to it. It can come back later. Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. I forgot. So what I do for voices and stuff, I use opentoonz. I don't know how it works out in any other place. I'm probably going to have to figure out what to do it myself. But like what I do is I just drop the audio in there. I just drop the audio in there into whatever the audio's happening. I just go by that. Like if I hear like a newbie on the audio or stuff, because we're not really doing lip syncing in a way. We're not doing lip syncing. Open, closed mouth. That's it. But since we're not doing that, and I know sometimes I like adding in like frames and changing them around. For me personally, I'm not asking that from anyone else. But like by we go by the audio, of course. So like when something changes, like we just generally try to keep it on the beat or so. I wish I I wish I had audio so I could actually like explain what I explain it better. I wish I had audio so I could explain it better. But yeah, you'll generally just pop it in there and just time it. That's the word. You're gonna time it. And I think with that, that's all I had.